So we're live. Are you there, Ellie? I lost Ellie. She's getting her computer ready, folks. We're gonna do it old school just to try and help things go right. I don't know what happened here. Yeah, okay. Um, we're gonna put her on the speakerphone, but she's gonna get her computer on so that you can see her picture as soon as she gets here. So we're trying to figure out, I'm sorry, I was going to have her come in early so we could make sure everything was set up, but I had a repairman here who just left 3 minutes ago. So that means I'm running behind, and so we've got a problem. I was watching as much as I could until the phone started ringing this morning. I'm not having any trouble with YouTube, Rindy, but I don't know if anybody else is. I was watching the hearings this morning, and the hypocrisy was just appalling, in my opinion, for what was going on. The things that they're accusing Trump of having done and saying it's high crimes and misdemeanors, and yet they won't go after their own party members for doing the illegal things that they're doing, or just, even if it's theoretically legal, investigations need to be done, because I don't know about you, but I sure didn't know. I'm waiting for Ellie to come back. I haven't gotten a dial tone, so I think she put me on hold. Yeah, the hearings really it's been hard to listen to. To think that they won't investigate. We know that Hillary got help from the Russians. They remember what Larry has told us. Yes, it is scripted for sure, Rindy. Thank you. Yes. Remember what Larry has told us. Listen to what the Democrats say. The more detail they give, the more they are telling you about what they have done, what they are doing. Their accusations are nothing but self-revelation. Sorry about my laughing, folks. I'm laughing at the comments about the dogs being upset because you're yelling at the TV watching the hearings. Yes. My phone has been ringing off the hook since we got partway into them, and so I've missed a lot. But Larry cannot be with us today, folks. He is busy trying to come up with a strategy to beat what's going on. However he is able to do that, I have no idea. But he's always trying to come up with a strategy to help our country. So Ellie, are you back yet? No, I don't know. And somehow I don't have her. For as many times as I've talked to her on my phone, but I sent out so many text messages looking for help for Larry the other day that her phone number is buried somewhere in my contact list. And so let me double check the phone number I've got on here. Yeah, okay. So I can now text her and see what happened. But so Larry's busy doing whatever Larry does. Diane, tell me more about, you said you thought of Larry the whole time. Tell me what you were thinking. I mean, does anybody hear when somebody's talking? Anybody hear what Larry has to say? It sounds like, things that we've heard before. He just seems so astute in being able to know what's going on. Oh, Diane, Hillary on Howard Stern saying she's a lady of faith. Yes, she's a lady of satanic faith. No deep state, ha ha ha. She would have been the perfect president. She would have been the perfect president for a dictatorship, that's for sure. Ellie, are you there? All right. Well, then let's just not worry about the picture and let's just let me get you on speakerphone and let's just proceed, okay? So we were talking. Yeah. I don't know if you could hear what we were saying, what I was saying. Okay, I need your help, Frank. There are a lot of American-loving people. They don't want to donate even though they have millions of dollars. Yeah, that's certainly a problem. And certainly, you know, there are things, Larry really is not boasting when he says there are things that he knows and things that he can do that nobody else in the world can do. Part of the reason is because there's nobody else willing to pay the price Larry has paid. And he continues to pay a horrendous price for what he's doing. And I mean, it boggles my mind what he has given up, what he has lost, what he does, what this has cost him. And the fact that he keeps at it, and you heard in his voice yesterday, I mean, he had to quit. He left here yesterday and just went straight to bed. And, you know, just the extra time he spent with us really did him in, but he wants to be here with us because he appreciates so much your support, your help. Yes, Diane, the FBI guy who died investigating the Clinton Foundation. I guess no surprise there. So anyhow, it's nice to have people donating to the Republican Party, but all they are doing when they do that is supporting the deep state, unless they are happening to support some brand new person. Our Congress was meant to be people who came and served for one term, two at the very most, did not get a retirement, had term limits, and they came in and served one or maybe two terms and went home. And that's the way our founding fathers wanted it to be. They said no lawyers and no witches were to be in Congress or to be in government at all. And so anyhow, Larry cannot come because he is working today, and he has to watch the hearings. So, you know, he knows what's going on. That's really, really important to him today to be aware of what's happening because of, you know, what he watches, and then he can find something that he can do to help upset the apple cart. So, yeah, Larry had some damage to his throat, and his throat is still healing. It's been pretty raw, so it's pretty raw. That's why it sounded so bad yesterday. Donating to Trump directly, supporting the RNC. Well, it's the RNC, Republican National Committee, that's collecting the money. So you're right to hold off on that. And certainly, you know that if you're helping Larry, you're helping the country in an incredible way. He had Social Security. I don't know if he ever had Medicare. He had Social Security, and suddenly it stopped. And there was somebody very high in the government who checked into, had the ability to check directly, because everything that Larry and his wife were doing to work with the local office, Social Security office, was getting them nowhere. And so he went to one of his high contacts in DC, and the person looked into it, and I don't know if he told Larry who was behind stopping it. I can guess, but I won't say it out loud because, you know, I have no proof of that. So anyhow, Larry was told there was no way it could be fought. There was no way to do anything to change that. And we know that there are people who want Larry not to be participating in our government, not to be participating in the fight for freedom. And so they, whoever they are doing everything in their power, including hiring assassins to take Larry out. So anyhow, so that's why he doesn't have Social Security, and he should have been getting veterans benefits. But when he told me some things about his military service, and I looked it up and tried to research, it's not to be found. So that leaves me wondering if everything about Larry, if digitally he is a non-person. I don't know. I'm just wondering. I'm guessing. I'm wondering. I'm just wondering. I'm not even guessing. I'm just wondering. So it's a problem. Thank you, Auntie M, about your suggestions for healing and health. I have heard that those things are really great, and I would love for Larry to be able to have access to that. There's no money to buy it, so if anybody is able to help contribute to that, that would be awesome. But that needs to be over and above what he is doing on a regular basis. He needs, let's see, he needs $450 today still for what he needs to get in the way of his treatments today. Yes, Larry deserves benefits, and certainly, we've heard the horror stories of what happens with the VA, and certainly President Trump is doing his best to help deal with that. Could Larry be blacklisted, Karen? Well, that is a question we're all asking and making assumptions about. So anyhow, Ellie wanted to talk today about some things, Barry Seal and some other things. So I'm going to turn it over to her and let her just go for it. And let me, bend down and turn off my little heater so that you can hear a little better. So take it away, Ellie. Thank you for being here.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see everybody. And talking about the Clintons is right up my alley today, because Carnage on Ice put out a new documentary, and it has to do with Barry Seal. And of course, that goes back to the Clintons and their corruption here and what they took to Washington with them. And the thing with that Carnage on Ice has come out with is a lot of new revelations. And one being that a lot of the Iran-Contra documents and transcripts have been to Freedom of Information Act now, which is great, because I myself have been trying to get a hold of them for years, and they were still classified. And what he uncovered, and I really suggest everybody to watch the documentary. It's American Unmade. It's a 4-hour long, and I've only just scratched the surface of it this morning. And what he uncovered is Barry Seal being connected to Lee Harvey Oswald. And that really blew me away. And so I listened, I was a little bit, well, okay, now how could this be? And it was in his younger years. And what had happened is there was a Dale Hahn, that's an FBI agent back then, that had a book written about him. And he had mentioned that he was supposed to, that Barry Seal was supposed to be the pilot that would take Lee Harvey Oswald out of town. And so he started investigating it. And he found that this book was like a $3,000 book, and he couldn't figure out why. And there was a chapter missing out of it. And so he looked around and he found another book that was written, and it was written by this Dale Hahn. And what was in it was that he verified that story was semi-true, he said. And he...
Wait a minute, Ellie. Semi-true? Either it's true or it's not true.
I know. I haven't got far enough into it. It was like, oh my God, I just die. I've got to go back to it. But he said that this guy, and it was, it was verified by this book, and he said there was certain portions in it that just put it right into the truthful spot. And so he went back and was looking at some of the stuff written on that first book, and he said that was semi-true, but this other one, he verified that it was true. And so the question was, is there anybody that knew that Barry Seal and Lee Harvey Oswald actually met, or any of it? Is there any connection to them? And come to find out, they did. And it was verified by a Stephen Roy and a John Simpkins. And these two guys were in the book, the book in 216. And it verified that this guy was an FBI agent, and he was working with the CIA. And so, Barry Seal did mention he was working with the CIA. And there's really strong connections. And oh boy, I would just love to come back after I watch the documentary and tell the whole thing, because this is groundbreaking. And Carnage on Ice and Mr. Bain, they have never been wrong. And you got to remember, when they do these documentaries, they pull out the documents. They don't just say, I'm just go on what I'm telling you. They pull out and they show you the documents. And they started whipping documents. They whipped out these books, the names of the books, and the information that was in them. And, so I really suggest people watch this. This is going to be groundbreaking, and I think it's going to be enough. It's going to get the Clintons in a little bit more trouble. Like I told you, I was going to get into, the story of Barry Seal today. Most of the time when I talk on the boys, we get to the point of the drug smuggling, but we kind of quit on the drops. And the story with Barry Seal is very important because it continued even after his death. And it was the Clintons that kept it going after his death. So when Barry Seal, when he was going to be charged with drug smuggling, he had agreed to work with them. And, of course, he ended up dead. He was in a plane crash down in South America. And so, the cocaine went on. It did. And it was going out of Mena Airport. And Mena, everybody says, well, what's the connections between the Clintons and Mena Airport? For one, the cones that were made for the planes were patented by Hillary Clinton and Rose Lawford.
How'd she manage to do that? How'd she manage to do that?
Because I believe they were trying to, if they even got the planes had been searched on the ground, they had to have a way to be able to hide the cocaine, in certain aspects. So they did make the tip of these, the tip of the planes. Now, what's really weird is they now use them on tips of planes for radar and rays and stuff. And I don't know too much about that on the newer stuff, but I know that originally back in the I'm going to say mid-'80s is when all of this went through. And I bet Larry could probably even tell, his listeners and his watchers about this, because it was pretty much during Larry Nichols' time. So, people don't realize what Larry Nichols knows, and this is stuff he was living through. And this was a very scary time. And when you're talking, they were killing people over just thinking about not wanting to be around them, knowing of their cocaine and their smuggling. They would kill them. They would disappear. Disappear where they have never been found. And there's plenty of people like that here in Arkansas that We don't know where they went. We don't know what happened. We just know they disappeared and assume Arkansas, you know. So when Barry Seal had the big C-130, and he did that. That was his plane. I believe that was his baby. I personally seen that plane, so I know it was true that Barry Seal was in Arkansas and was landing at Mena Airport. And of course, the documents do prove that. And the airport, what got me was when a reporter from, I believe it was our Channel 4 here on NBC, when they went up and started investigating it, they were just getting really stupid answers, like the secretary, when they asked her, well, what are they hauling on the planes? And she said porpoises. And they said porpoises, and she said yes. And so these pilots that were smuggling the drugs had this, I'm going to say, naive secretary thinking they were hauling porpoises in the planes, and they were custom fitting them. And another one of their covers was they were remodeling planes. Well, they were getting planes from Australia and other parts of the world. And it really made no sense because it would cost so much to ship the planes here or get them here and then the amount of dollars to remodel them, it really wasn't worth the price paid. So they had gotten enough on an investigation to prove that those planes weren't coming from other countries. Those were planes that were being used for the smuggling. And they would go from South America to Florida to Arkansas, some in Texas, and then California. The other route would be from South America to Mexico to LA. And it's verified it was coming from Mexico to LA through Maxine Waters in the 90s during the I believe, Senate hearings. So we knew it was coming up from Mexico also. And this was all Barry Seal. And Barry Seal and Bill Clinton were friends. And that was definitely verified. And he did try everything he could to help him out during, before he died, when they were going to charge him. So now back at Mena, there was a pilot named Terry. And he started seeing, and I kind of run his story with Larry Nichols because it's so much of the same. He decided he just didn't want no part of it. Well, when he tried to leave, they went after him, because of course they didn't want him to tell. And he and his wife and his two kids had fled to Mexico and hid out, and the FBI put out most wanted on them. Like they were these hardened criminals. And so they were in fear to come back, because they had death threats. And I think they pretty much fled in the middle of the night, and they had to hide. And they really thought they were going to be killed. And when they finally did try to come back into the States, the FBI got them, and they just ringed them. They just charged them with everything they could. And the threats that came from the Clinton Foundation and also the Clintons, because the Clinton Foundation was established here. So there was people that were kind of working for them as well as the Clintons, because the Clintons don't call you up personally and threaten you. They got ways. And, they're not going to look like little FBI guys with dark glasses or the Men in Black coming for you. They do it with normal people. And I can only imagine Larry here, because everybody in Arkansas, you would never dream would threaten you. And he says he's got holes in his house from them doing shootings. And I could just, with the way they are in Little Rock, it can be so believable. And once you live here and you understand the Little Rock crowd back then, and then 10 years after to where we got rid of them, you realize how scary these people are. And, you know, everybody asked about Larry, how his stuff disappeared. Easily here in Arkansas at that time. And easily because of the NSA and the NSI, they can make you disappear. Every little speck about you, they can make disappear. And they do that to some under the witness protection. So,
speaking of witness, Ellie, speaking of witness protection, Larry has been invited to go into that, and he said, "Oh no, he knows that he'd be disappeared permanently."
Well, I know where they would put him here in Arkansas, and
what, 6 foot under?
The place they have here in Arkansas that was back in the 80s and 90s. Well, that's not really a good neighborhood. They've arrested a lot of people for like making drugs there. That just not a good spot for Larry. So, you know, you really have to believe Larry on the fear of it. And I mean, I even feared for a while for myself. And, you know, I finally just got to the point, you know, I just don't care no more. If they want to come get me, they're going to come get me, you know. But, you know, I'm going to go kicking and screaming and biting. And it's the fear they put into people here, and the fear that the Clinton administration and the Democrats, because, I mean, you're watching the hearings today. Nadler was Bill Clinton's lawyer. The fear they put into people today is probably worse than what they did to scare the people in Arkansas here, because it didn't take much back then. And I had a friend that him and two of his friends were out. I believe they were drinking at like an open, it was a gas station, but it had closed for the night. And they were arrested and they were taken in. And now these boys, one was 16, and two were 17. And they didn't call their parents. They were wanting the names of drug dealers. Now, mind you, they've just got in trouble for just drinking a little bit. They wanted names of drug dealers that they knew of. And they said, we don't know none. Well, they were shaking them. They tied them to the chairs. They were pulling their guns out, not pointing it at the boys, but, just being threatening. And it scared the bejesus out of these boys. And that's how they were back in those days. And this was probably in 1982. It was here. And these were North Little Rock Police and Sherwood. And Sherwood back then was known. They had a Tommy Robinson that he was just a no-guff guy. And when they had robberies in a string of little grocery stores, Tommy Robinson put armed guards in every store behind the two-way glass. And then signs up on the door that says, they had a big old barrel of a gun that said, are we here or are we not? And it said Sherwood County Sheriff or Faulkner County Sheriff. So they meant business back then. And they did have the public scared back then. So you can only imagine this pilot, Terry, and his wife being scared, as well as the DEA agent I've told quite a few people about that looked into the case. They chased her all the way to Texas, and they scared her. And now she's working with Linda Ives to try to unravel all of this, because I keep telling everybody it's not just about the boys. And it's a lot about the cocaine, and then you get into the other corruption they did here. And, with Barry Seal, when they turned it over to him, and then, when he died, we had always thought that was the end of it. Well, it continued. And then the boys got killed. And then after that, what it was is when the Clintons left, then we got that false sense of hope. Okay, it's gonna die. Well, what they did is they moved the airstrip north. I also heard they have another strip up towards Fayetteville, and I'm trying to find out if it's still there and if it's still running, because I truly believe they're still running the cocaine through here. Not to mention, why would they quit running it from South America through Mexico into LA? And it's, with the cartels. And, I didn't believe it until a story that I had done a couple Fridays ago. You remember the family that got shot on that main highway? There was a couple of families, and the cartel mowed them down.
Oh, in Mexico.
Right. Before that, there was these two DEA agents that almost the same thing happened. But the FBI, one of the higher ups, kind of told this head guy, no, I want you to go up this highway. He says, it's not really safe. Oh, you'll be okay. Just go up that highway. Well, sent a rookie with him. And I really think there's something to that story with the cocaine all over again. And I always believe history repeats itself. So I'm believing something is going on with this cocaine. They're trying to cover it up again for a second time on the Clintons and on the Clintons and the cartel and into Southern California. Now, these guys were ambushed, and the one head guy had made it through, but he had to watch the rookie being killed. And he truly believes that there was a setup on that, but that he can't prove it, and he don't dare talk more than what he has. But, that is just really scary that he was told to go that way, and it wasn't a route they normally took because it was so dangerous. And I really believe it's tied to some of the cocaine that's coming up through Mexico now, because they have pretty much cut it off from Florida to Arkansas. But I still see and hear little planes that even fly over Conway. And I always wonder about that because they just don't look right. And we've had quite a few crash up north. So I'm wondering if these little, Cessnas are starting to run again. But I don't see really any activity around Mena. It's more north. So it kind of gives me the go-ahead for me to investigate just above, Fort Smith and over closer to Fayetteville to see if they're still running the drugs. I don't see why they wouldn't still run them, because it's money to them. And, Mena, after the Clintons had left and everything kind of quieted down, they say that they went on to just doing private flights out of there. And we had airstrip here that did privates. And then all of a sudden it seemed like when you start looking at Mena again, they're getting the bigger airplanes back. And it could mean, okay, they're doing better business. But then I've heard they've shut down. And so I have a friend that used to live up in Fort Smith, and I asked him, take a drive by Mena and take a look at that airport for me. And he said it was up and running, even though it was claimed to be closed. So it goes back and forth. Either it's closed or it's open. And, if we don't start bringing all of this out, that it's always been going, because they've never investigated Mena, because when it got to Iran-Contra and the hearings, they closed it all down. There was nothing to see here, nothing to see here. So
I wouldn't say necessarily, Ellie, that it was closed down. They just don't want anybody allowed to look at it.
That's right. And here about 4 months ago, Tom Fenton was talking about the Iran-Contra papers. And so I emailed him and I said, if you can get anything on Mena, please do. Well, about a month and a half ago, he had mentioned he had requested the papers for Mena Airport, and some of the Iran-Contra. So I knew, stuff would start happening. And, more and more, he is starting to present a lot of the Hillary emails, the Hillary documents, Bill and Hillary, and he said they are getting mounds of info from Nina. And, because the people up here are nice. Arkansas, they're very friendly here. And I'm hoping if it is privately owned or someone else, that they'll go ahead and start feeding them the info. Because there's people here that just want to talk. You can't shut me up. So, but, it's for the boys. And, the big thing with Barry Seal is when Tom Cruise did that movie, they glorified him. He was not a pretty man. He was short. He was overweight. He was not as good looking as Tom Cruise. And they really glorified him on that. And I think that's why Carnage on Ice decided they were going to dig down and they were going to pull all this out and they were going to expose it. Because just on them bringing this stuff out, Tom Fenton bringing this stuff out, we might start seeing justice for what happened here in Arkansas, because everything that we've tried to get them on has just been swept under the rug. The Whitewater, they punished the wrong people for it. And, Chinagate, you could see it that it had happened because of what we see just in Conway. And you could see the trade secrets that they were doing. And you could see how they worked stuff out with people in China and over here. And then, there was the drugs, of course, the Clinton Foundation. And, more and more, it's all starting to come out. And everybody's going to see when they took it to Washington, everything they did here. I told you about the corruption they put people in power, all the way down the ladder and up to the highest offices held here.
Okay, hang on a second. That's what Larry's talking about now, that Soros money is funding the down ballot races for sheriff and prosecutor especially. And if they have the sheriff and the prosecutor in their back pocket, then if they want anything against you, there's nothing you can do you can hardly fight it. And if they want to let somebody off, who are you going to go to get justice?
That's right. That's exactly what they did here. And, even when they left, they put even more into power. And all it did was covered it so deep. And it's like I told you, Mary Ellen, it took us 10 years just to unravel and try to get these people out of power here. And I told my brother Larry, it might take us 20 years to get these people out of these places because it goes so deep. And, everybody says, well, I heard there's thousands of indictments. Yes, there has been thousands of indictments. And there's hundreds that are being going through the courts. And not only on the sex trafficking, but you got to realize everything that they had done, from the county clerk to your city council, your mayor, all your chief of police, the sheriff's department, they put everybody in head. So when they need a favor, it's just a call. If Gowdy happened to be driving through Arkansas, oh yeah, they'd have him pulled over and locked up and put away for a week before they'd make him let him do a phone call. And he would disappear in our system. And that's what they're setting it up to be. So all it is a phone call, and they could take people out. And it's, I never thought I would see it again, and I was hoping I wouldn't. But now that they got up there, and with some Republicans, but then working with the Democrats, they have all started the system of Arkansas all over the United States. And it's scary. It's really scary because there'll be nowhere to hide, for anybody, from, even Trump, they would know where he's going, and they'd have someone right on him or his family. Or, you know how it is. It's your family, it's your friends, it's your in-laws, it's your neighbors. They go until they get what they want. And that is the mentality of the Democratic Party right now. They are going to go until they break you or you commit suicide. And it's a Hillary tactic.
Well, this is communism already at play in our country. That's the way communism works, Larry told us. And we think that, oh no, we're a free nation. Not with this kind of thing going on. They are wrapping it up. Hillary was not supposed to lose. And we were supposed to be completely converted to communism, constitution overthrown and changed to a communist form of government with the central committee that Adam Schiff even admits is what should be running the government now. I mean, he let that out blatantly. And, the story that you are telling, Ellie, is something we need to be very aware of, because it's not coming, it's here. Larry was telling me a week or two weeks at the most, in one of the brief calls I got from him, he said, Mary Ellen, he said, I didn't think it would happen this fast. He said, we're already at communism. We are functioning as a communist country already. And he was absolutely appalled and doubled down, despite his health, to make sure that he is fighting with everything he's got to his last night or yesterday afternoon with the program. Hearing him gasping at the end of the program yesterday, it just made me wonder, are we hearing his last gasp for air on his way out? It was awful. Thankfully, we were able to get the money for him to get a treatment. I'm sure he doesn't have adequate what he needs, and he needs $450 ASAP immediately to keep him because of what he has been doing today. And if we thought it was bad yesterday with the way he was pushing himself, he wasn't working yesterday. He rested yesterday, and he's working today. And I just can't imagine. I haven't talked to him today at all. I've gotten a couple text messages from him. And, I do want to say thank you to the people who sent a couple of checks in the mail to me. I want to thank you. The money has now completely been used up. I got it. I put it in the bank. And Larry has received it, and the last of it was sent to him this morning. And so he still needs another $450 today to be able to get the rest of his treatment. So if anybody can help, the PayPal account is on the screen, nicholslive@aol.com. You can go to the website, nicholslive.com, and there's a direct link to his PayPal. His mailing address, 58 Kensington Drive, Conway, Arkansas, 72034. You can mail cash only. That won't help him today. PayPal is the only way to help him today. If you need to send a check or you have a large donation you want to send through Western Union, we need to call and find out what nurse is going to pick it up for him, so that I can tell you what name to send it to him. In Western Union, you cannot send it to Larry because he does not have the ability to go in and pick it up himself. So we make arrangements, and you can my cell phone number for a text message. I will call you back if you want to donate by check or by Western Union or Zelle. Through the bank-to-bank transfer. Bank-to-bank transfer will go through very quickly because it goes immediately into my account, and then I can quickly PayPal it on to Larry if you don't have PayPal but have Zelle. We did have somebody send $1 to me through Zelle just to verify that it was working. Somebody had tried before, and I didn't have the online accounting set up to be able to take the Zelle. So that person ended up sending me a check, and but we've got that set up now. So just to let you know, there are other ways to donate, but we're not advertising all these other ways on on the website. So you just need to text me to get some of these alternatives. Thank you, Pernell. Yes, we do need to know this information about the Clintons, and please tell anybody you can to help Larry, because, you know, there are people who have some of Larry's information, and they may be willing to go online and be interviewed, for example, with Jason. You know, you've got people who are spilling the beans about things because of information they know that Larry knows, but they're not doing anything more than that. And a lot of the people who have that kind of information, Claire, I do not understand if you're sending money by PayPal and it sits there, because he pulls the money out within minutes of it coming in. As fast as it gets to him, he uses it and spends it. So if there's a problem with that, give me a call, Claire, and let's talk about it. And whoops, what did I do? I just lost. I was going to type my number in and I just lost the show. Take me a minute again. So I'm typing in my number. So it's 240-499-6729. So Claire, call me and let me know what happened, and see if I can help you figure out what happened. And Auntie, make sure you contact me after the program as well. Text message, and then I'll call you back from the landline. So sorry to interrupt, Ellie, but please do whatever you can for Larry ASAP. Thank you, and go ahead. We got 10 minutes left.
Okay, I'll wrap it up pretty good. So when the Clintons, you know, we talked about the corruption with the cocaine they had going on, but then you get into their wanting to start their Clinton Foundation. And AFTA, of course, that Larry knew about, and then BCCI. And what Larry sat in the middle of watching was when they raised our taxes 127 times. And this, now that you look back at it, you realize they tested socialism out on our Kansans back then. They raised our taxes real high, the groceries got high, everything went really super sky high. And it started crumbling our economy here. But also, those that opposed them were being, you know, the media, they bought the media here. All three stations, most of the radio stations were on board with them. I mean, to this day, I think there's like maybe only one channel and one radio station or two radio stations that are really for Trump. The rest are really Democratic, and it's really hard to even get them to discuss anything. They just get angry and they'll hang up the phone on you. But they, as you can see, they had the media bot. They had all their people in place. No one could do nothing. No one could talk. As they continued to raise everything here, they made the money, and they walked away to Washington with the plan. And, you know, and Larry sat in the middle of all that, just watching this happen, watching it unfold.
Participating
I don't blame him for going and getting what he could and saying, you know, I don't want to be a part of this, because he would have been so deep, and they would have killed him if he got any deeper.
There are certain things that he just really will not talk about, just for his own personal safety, and he knows much more than he's allowed to say. And I just want to say that if somebody wants to send a check, you have to text me about how to do that, because only cash could go to Larry. He has no way to cash a check or a money order. Believe me, he has tried many, many times. And the Clinton system is not just national now, it is global.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's global, because they have went to every single country, and they have talked them into socialism. And every country they've talked into socialism has crumbled. And not only that, but I did my last week's Patriot show, I did it on resources. You know what just happened with Joe Biden's son. And they just go around to these countries and they get in there, they buy them, they buy people, they put people in office, and they take the resources and they don't give them nothing in return. And it just crumbles these countries. It's what they did here. But we didn't really have resources. We have a diamond mine here. But, I could never find out. It's run by the state of Arkansas. But, I've always wondered if the Clintons had their hands in it because it is a diamond mine. And, worldwide, they have affected every country just about. And every country they've been to that you could see they've been and where their friends at has just crumbled under their policy, their own policy, as they get richer and richer. And they have no morals, and they have no, they just don't care about anybody that's below them. They just really don't care, especially Hillary. Larry would probably tell you Hillary is just, she's a witch herself. She, I would call her the B word. But she is just cold-hearted. And everybody that's met her here say the same thing. She is cold-hearted. Bill, he's got a little personality, but he'll do whatever Hillary says. And when they were governors here, she was the governor, he was the sidekick. And that's exactly how I felt when they were in Washington, was she was the president, he was the sidekick. Because she runs the show. And she's just a cold-hearted woman. And she does not care about anybody but her little realm of friends or who she could buy. And boy, they dig the dirt like they did here. They get friends with you. They get you in a spot where they can get a little bit of dirt on you. And if you ever do them wrong, they bring out that dirt and there's their proof, and they take you down.
Or they'll make it up.
Yeah, or they make it up, yeah. Well, now, yeah, they find it easier, I guess, to make it up instead of trying to get the dirt. But, Larry is very important to us because, like you said, there's certain things that he knows that he can't say. And I'm hoping it starts coming out in these declassified documents. And, he can tell the world what is going on. And maybe even little bits here and there that he can find out as they unclassify and it starts trickling out, because his stories just now start to come out. And more people, the more they listen to Larry and the more they listen to the people in Arkansas, the more we're going to be able to figure out a way to take down this deep state, because they were and are a huge part of what's going on. And until we take those top people out, nothing's going to be able to get back to the normalcy. But we then have to deal with the little guys, because when you take one out, there's two to replace them. And that's what we found out here. And I think that's what Barr is doing. He's taking out all the little people. And my brother Larry and me talked about this. They're going and getting all the little guys. So when they take the big guys out, there's no one to go and take their place. And the little guys have already squealed on them. So, we really, really have to get in there. We got to vote. We've got to get this Congress out. And we've got to keep donating to Larry to keep him alive. And so we can get this info, because like I said, Larry's story is coming alive. It is to what I see and what I see in Arkansas. His word is getting out, and it's going to go worldwide with what the Clintons have done and what he knows they've done. So, did anybody have questions? Because I wasn't paying attention to any questions, Mary Ellen.
No, there's just been a lot of comments about what you're saying. Hang hang on. I just missed something that just, okay. Auntie says that Hillary is polarizing. So yeah, it's,
and they're all dirty, every single one of them. You got to remember they were all friends with the Clintons, and if you check out history, you'll see right about the time the Clintons went in office is when all these Congress people went in. You know, and Nadler being a Clinton lawyer, now he's a senator.
no, he's still
friends. They always get their friends into power, always.
No, he's not a senator, but Ellie, I've got something for you to research, and I'm going to ask Larry to do this too. I got a phone call from somebody today saying that Lisa Page is a relative of Brennan, and that Peter.
I haven't heard nothing on it yet.
And that Peter Strzok wasn't the only one that she'd had an affair with, but Strzok's superiors all the way to the top also. So I don't know. It, you know, sometimes you hear this hearsay and you just have no idea if it's true, and it takes some time to be able to try and, you know, find somebody who really knows the truth. But C. Jacobs, what did Pelosi do at the UN? I know she was at NATO, or she was in Paris talking about that we have not backed out. We have not backed out of the, yeah, we're still part of the climate thing accord. And it really is bad when you don't have any Republicans running in a race, because we have got to take over. And if the Republicans, if we don't have somebody to run, we've just handed our country over to communism.
That's another tactic they use, is they get it to where like a Republican won't run, so they automatically win the ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a typical trick of the Clintons when they were here, is they would keep people from running so that the person they wanted in would run unopposed, and they would get the spot. And, you know, I always said, you know, if I see it, I'm going to run. But I don't think they want me in there. I would get in trouble. So I wouldn't stop. I would go knock on their office doors and tell them what I think. So,
that's why we need somebody like you to run.
But that's one of the tactics they do use, is they will chase off an opponent that they want that district with, and that way they run unopposed and they automatically get it. So keep an eye on that, especially for your judges. That's a big one they like to do that too, is only one judge will run, and it's usually one that is more Democrat than will side with a Republican. And that's how they got the judges in power here in Arkansas before they left. And so there was really, if Larry tried to take any of his cases to court here, it would have been an automatic loss. And I believe that's what Linda Ives was running into.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. All right. Well, we're out of time. Thank you, Ellie, for being here. And remember, folks, do what you can to help Larry today, please. With as hard as he is working after how deathly ill he was over the weekend, he's doing better. He's really on the road to recovery. And you heard his voice yesterday that he still has a ways to go. So please help, because you know, we have, like Larry says, we have three weapons. We have our voices collectively, and our vote. And they are working very hard to shut down our voice and our voices collectively, so that if you try to speak out, if you try to put a sign up, if you try to wear a MAGA hat, you know, we had somebody 3 years ago who lost her vision because she went into an eye doctor with an eye infection, and the doctor refused to see her because she was wearing a red MAGA hat. And by the time she could get to another doctor, it was too late to save her eye. So you know, that's communism, folks. That's just pure and simple communism. And Larry is able to fight this in ways that we just can't even dream of. And so we need to support him if we care about our freedom. We really do need to send something. And folks, if all you can send is $1, he has come on with and graciously said thank you to people who sent $1, $2, $3. If that's all you can do, please do it. We're at the beginning of the month. You know, most of us have gotten our check, and I know it's Christmas and you need to think about, you know, what you can do, but we need to think about the fact that helping Larry is helping our children. And maybe your gift for Christmas this year is your working to fight for the freedom of your family. So that being said, I'm going to say thanks, Ellie, for being here. Thanks, folks, for being here. God bless you. And hopefully Larry can be back tomorrow. A lot will depend on, you know, whether he gets the treatment to keep him going tonight or not. So that's just the way it is. So, yeah, the deep state is quite something to fight against. And Larry knows what they are going to do next because he helped to write the book and the plan that they are following. So he knows what's coming next. And one of the comments he made to me recently is, Mary Ellen, it's just really hard to fight myself because it was such a perfect plan that they came up with. And of course, you know, I mean, it's based on Mein Kampf and what Hitler did. And, you know, I had always wondered how could the people have been so duped? And then I look at our country right now and I go, oh, following in their footsteps. So, thanks, folks, for being here. God bless you. And we will see you tomorrow.